What is up, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast. And we're here talking about New Japan and Wrestle Kingdom 14. And who is we? Well, I am your host for this edition, Callum Wiggins. And joining me, as always, is my co-host, Robert D. Felice.
Yes, the perpetual co-host of Smark Moment. I'm really excited to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, Callum.
Yes, because it is not WWE, and that is always exciting
That
to
is
be
always
talking about something.
exciting.
But well, let's spoiler alert, this is going to be the best show of the year, or one of the best shows of the year coming up. So if you're not very familiar with New Japan, or you don't watch New Japan very often, this is the show you should always go out of your way to see.
Yes, this is the reason why I pay a New Japan World fee year-round.
And this year, we're getting two for the price of one, because not only is Wrestle Kingdom 14 happening on January the 4th, as it always does on an annual basis, but it's also taking place on January the 5th as well. It's a 2-night show. So this might be, in many people's eyes, like what the future of WrestleMania kind of holds if they keep doing 8 or 9 hour long shows.
I don't know if WrestleMania could succinctly pull this off the way New Japan is.
Well, it obviously takes having to rent out the Tokyo Dome, which they've rented out for both nights. They'll still do their New Year's Dash show, but they're doing that on January the 6th instead. So as we know, there's going to be a lot of great matches, a lot of potential title changes, and then the New Year's Dash show is going to set up basically every angle for the next year. So that's pretty much how New Japan kind of operates, at least it has done for the past few years. Very successfully, might I add.
Yes, and they have the perfect setup for the first ever 2-night event with the double gold dash, as we will break down. But I like how they've really set up a lot of matches for night 2, depending on what happens in night 1.
Yep, so we've got a lot of things to break down here. So before we get started, just want to say if you are not subscribed already to Smark Moment on YouTube, then please do that. If you're listening to this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on all the podcast platforms, do leave a rating, subscribe if you can on those channels as well. And let's just head on into it with night 1. So night 1 has 3 kickoff matches, I guess you'll call them, like pre-show stuff. But the most interesting one probably is the introduction of Stardom to the New Japan fold.
Yes, women's wrestling has hit Wrestle Kingdom.
So New Japan obviously has never had, or at least for a long period of time, women's wrestling. They have had affiliations with the Joshi promotions in the past, so it's not exactly the first time that women have wrestled on a New Japan show. But this could be a very prominent thing because recently Stardom was acquired by Bushiroad, which is also the people that own New Japan Pro Wrestling. So they're now under the same umbrella. And if this goes well, it's probably quite likely that we could see a lot more Stardom matches come under, like, be featured on the more prominent New Japan shows going forward.
I'm a little surprised at how quickly the tone changed from we're never going to intermingle to they're on Wrestle Kingdom. And I'm wondering what led to that.
Well, I assume it's just the people purchasing it really wanting to establish that as soon as they purchase, I assume that this would be the direction they go towards. I'm pretty sure like Harold Mage or the people that are running Bushiroad probably see that the idea of having an all-men's promotion in 2019 is a bit backwards. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it because the Joshi promotions don't have men wrestling on it, so it's not like if they've always kept it separate. But maybe it's just a start of a greater evolution in Japanese wrestling.
This is a good point, and I'm also wondering if this was one of those, like, I don't want to say caving because that seems negative, but there's a lot of fan pressure in recent months to do something with women in New Japan because as the expansion was growing and the fan base was growing, they were saying, where are these women's matches? And maybe Harold May and the rest of the team heard that.
Isn't your buddy Sean Rossap been one of the most vocal critics of this as well?
He has been, and good old Sean Rossap. I think a lot of people, especially in the journalist community, believe it or not, really want to see more from women in wrestling, and this is a great start to that. I also want to say we're like 2 or 3 weeks out from the New Japan of America shows, and I'm wondering if this will carry any weight going over there and going over to future tours of America.
I think it has potential, but obviously they're still separate promotions. They will continue to do separate shows apart from each other. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Stardom, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're not an avid watcher of New Japan, you're probably not familiar with Stardom either. Stardom is one of the foremost Joshi promotions in Japan. People like B. Priestley, Piper Niven when she was Viper, Tony Storm, Zaya Brookside have gone through this promotion in the past. Some
I
of them
believe
still work.
This is where they picked up Io, isn't it?
Yeah, this is where Io Shirai made her name. This is where Kairi Hojo, now Kairi Sane, made her name. Asuka was also a prominent feature in Stardom for a while as well. So a lot of the top Japanese women's talent has kind of emanated towards Stardom. And here it's going to be represented by Mayu Iwatani and Arisa Hoshiki versus Hana Kimura and this name's a bit more Giulia. So I can't say that I am the most familiar with these people in terms of watching their matches. I've seen Iwatani in Ring of Honor and a few of her other matches because she is widely considered one of the best female wrestlers in the world, if not one of the best overall wrestlers in the world. She is the current Wonder of Stardom champion, not the current World of Stardom champion. There's a lot of championship belts in Stardom. That's something that you'll get familiar with as soon as, if you ever do want to start watching it more prominently. Mayu Iwatani is the current World of Stardom champion, and she's teaming with Hoshiki, who is the Wonder of Stardom champion, who's essentially I guess the equivalent of an Intercontinental champion level.
Okay.
Like New Japan, and this is the reason why I think there's obviously a good synergy between Stardom and New Japan, is that they work in a faction-based organization.
Yes.
Which means that obviously, like New Japan, where you have Chaos, the main unit of Taguchi Japan, Bullet Club, Suzuki-gun, Stardom works in the same fashion. You have the Stars, which is their big babyface group. They have Odo Tai, or Odo Tai, which is their comedy heels. Queen's Quest, which is the kind of cocky tweeners, maybe more bordering on the heel side, which has a lot of their gaijin talent as well. And Tokyo Cyber Squad, who is kind of like a very neutral people that just want to be stand out on their own.
So very LIJ.
Yeah, very much an LIJ type of organization. Mayu Iwatani and Arisa Hoshiki represent the Stars group, so they're top baby faces. Hana Kimura is part of Tokyo Cyber Squad, and Giulia is currently unaffiliated. She only recently signed with the promotion in October of 2019. So it's quite interesting that someone who's only just signed with Stardom is getting this prominent position for the brand.
Maybe they really want to see how she can do, and maybe they see some potential in her.
So Giulia was previously a big part of Ice Ribbon, which is another Joshi promotion. She is born to both Italian and Japanese parents. Born in the UK actually, but lived the majority of her life in Japan. Yeah. So I've done a bit of research into this because I feel like a lot of people are going to go into this thinking, oh, it's a women's match. This is not going to get that much attention or time devoted to it. And Stardom has a lot of really good, talented wrestlers.
I would say Stardom World, their streaming service, which is the main way to watch the shows, is also a good investment if you want to know more.
Oh yeah, they are. They're very very prompt in terms of translating their stuff for English audiences as well. I would say almost that their interface is actually probably better than New Japan World's one in terms of for non-Japanese people to check it out. So there's a few interesting stories going on into this. So Iwatani's been champion for about 60 days, or she will be for around about 60 days by the time this match happens. She's in her second reign as the main champion in Stardom. Her first reign was actually cut short due to an injury that she suffered during a title defense when she was supposed to defend the title against Toni Storm. But due to her injury, the referee had to call an audible and award the title to Toni Storm instead. So Storm became, for a while, was World of Stardom champion by accident. But now Iwatani is holding the title. Hoshiki's kind of a young up-and-comer who's actually quite an interesting story. She wrestled for Stardom between 2011 and 2012. To put this into perspective, she's 24 now. So that was a good 7 or 8 years ago. So she's been wrestling since she was about 15, 16. And but she actually retired in 2012. Came back in 2018 and has been wrestling since 2018 again. So it's kind of an interesting backstory of her. Hana Kimura has never been a singles champion in Stardom, but she won their 5-star Grand Prix in September, which is their equivalent of the G1. But she lost her title shot against Bea Priestley, who was champion at the time. She's no longer the champion, obviously. And yeah, that's pretty much kind of everything that needs to be said about this match. It's just, it'll be interesting to see how much time they're devoted, how the crowd receives it, because obviously they're not used to seeing women's wrestling on a New Japan show. So I'm hopeful that they at least get a good solid amount of time to tell a good story and show what a future relationship between New Japan and Stardom can hold. Prediction kind of really goes out the window, really, because I mean it's kind of a nothing match. Like there's really nothing at stake. So I would just say that if you want to promote Iwatani as best you possibly can, maybe it's like the head of this new movement, then Iwatani and Hoshiki would win.
And I would say that Mayu Iwatani will be the star of this new venture, so I think her team will win.
Okay, so that's the Stardom stuff out of the way. Let's move on to some people that watchers of New Japan will be more familiar with. So here we have another pre-show match. Great Bash heel, Tomoaki, Honma, and Togi Makabe, teaming with Yuya Uemura and Tota Tsuji, who are two of the Japanese Young Lions, versus Toa Henare, Alex Coughlin, Clark Connors, and Karl Fredericks, which is Toa Henare and 3 of the American Young Lions. So this is pretty much like a veteran team and 2 young lions against kind of an up-and-comer in Henare and 3 Americans. So Japan versus the rest of the world here.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Karl Fredericks team wins, because they seem to like Toa and they seem to like Karl. I think it's a good spotlight for them, and I think they get the win here.
I think it is a good spotlight for them to just be part of this card in the first place, but if watching New Japan has taught me anything, it's that if one side has 3 young lions and one side has 2 young lions, the side with 3 young lions loses, because there's more opportunity for them to lose. Because the one thing that we can be certain about watching this match is that basically a young lion is getting pinned.
Oh yeah.
And if there's 3 on one side, I think it's more likely that they'll give a win to Honma in order to try and cap off the fact that he's come back from his long-term injury. So I'm personally going to go with the Great Bash heel team. But
of the young lions here, which one do you think will have the biggest upside in the future?
Either Clark Connors or Karl Fredericks look like the most prominent ones, but Uemura and Tsuji definitely have like upside to them, but I see particularly Tsuji as more of a comedy character. Coughlin, I don't know enough about to really know what his ceiling is at the moment. But
they like Henare, and I'm going to say either Henare or Fredericks, because I think Fredericks is very good in the ring.
I think Henare is pretty established already. I mean, he's obviously not won the championship yet, and he hasn't really had too much opportunity to grow, but he's not a young lion anymore. He's got his own character.
Oh, really? He's moved up from the Young Lions?
Oh, yeah. If he was a young lion, then I would definitely say that the other team's going to win, because they definitely wouldn't let a whole team of young lions win this. But Henare's been like that next tier up, obviously, definitely not at a level. He's kind of, I'm trying to think what is comparative, really. Just like...
So, like, out of the Performance Center into NXT for the American.
Yeah, I'd probably say something like that. So he's kind of a Raul Mendoza level. where he's not because he'll win the occasional match, but he's mainly a jobber for New Japan.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, this could be the year that he kind of breaks out and moves further forward. I still don't know whether he would be somebody to consider for the G1 just yet. But if he's not at that level yet, then I don't think it's likely he's going to be winning this one just yet. But again, that's just a pre-show match, just a typical 8-man tag, just to get the crowd warmed up. Next one is probably a bit more interesting because it's two veteran teams facing each other. So Tenkozy of Hiroshi Tenzan and Satoshi Kojima facing Yuji Nagata and Manabu Nakanishi. These guys have a massive amount of experience between them. So I don't think this isn't going to be Ospreay versus Hiromu in terms of quality in the ring, but these guys know what they're doing, and they're going to have, I guess, probably quite a competitive, hard-hitting match, and also because they don't really match.
I have no horse in this race, but I do love me some Yuji Nagata, so I will say that he will win just because he's one of my faves.
And Nagata's great, and Nagata will probably be the MVP of this match because, and I think it's quite interesting because obviously they don't feature prominently and they don't wrestle regularly on the New Japan cards anymore. So maybe they'll try and go a bit more all out for this one because it's their one chance to shine of the year. But I'm personally gonna go with Tenkozy because I think they could still probably have not so much runs as tag team champions, but they'll probably still feature in the World Tag Leagues going forward, stuff like that. So I'll go with the more established team to win. But like I say, most of these kickoff matches don't actually mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
And this is the end of the kickoff matches, correct? Because I know the next match up is Liger, and there's no way that's on the kickoff.
No, they're the three kickoff matches. So that'll be what we introduced to before we get onto the main card. So main card for night one kicks off with Jushin Thunder Liger teaming with Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask with El Samurai in their corner, facing there's a lot of names here. It's difficult, so bear with me.
Naoki Sano.
Naoki Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Tatsuhito Takaiwa, and Ryusuke Taguchi, with Kuniaki Kobayashi in their corner, and the special guest referee of Norio Hanaga.
Okay, let's.
Tatsumi
Fujinami at least
66
is 66. Yeah. Sasuke?
Sasuke is 50.
And now is this Tiger Mask like?
This is the current Tiger Mask.
Okay, like this is quite the team.
Yeah, so the combined age of the 8 competitors in this match is 408 years old. Jushin Thunder Liger, 55. This will be his penultimate match. So he gets to team up with a lot of people that have been very influential in his career against a lot of people who have been also very influential in his career. So I did a bit of digging to try and find out the reason why each person might be in this match. So obviously Liger, it's his final match, 11-time junior heavyweight champion. I assume that makes him the most winningest junior heavyweight of all time.
I would think so. Synonymous with the division and the brand, really.
Yep, debuted in 1984 and has wrestled for New Japan since 1987. He took on the Liger character in 1989. As of the time of recording, under cage match, this will be Liger's 4,204th match of his career.
So, all in all, if we count the one on the 5th, he will have 4,205 matches in his entire career.
Yeah.
This dude had brain surgery in the 90s, and, I think he is the definitive Japanese pro wrestler in my eyes, because he just never quit. It's still at, relatively speaking, at high level. It's like, imagine if The Undertaker was still having Shawn Michaels level matches.
Yeah, and wrestling as consistently as Liger has, because Liger's wrestled a good, solid, I don't know how many exactly, but it must be around about 50 matches this year, or in 2019.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and to still be wrestled out. I mean, I saw that match with Minoru Suzuki, and that match was, for two people who are on the other side of 50, is just a terrific showing. Like, I really, really loved that match. But Liger is obviously hanging up the boots because he knows that it's kind of with the idea that he can't keep up with the people in his division anymore. So we've just wanted to take a step back. He already does a commentary for New Japan. He'll probably go into the training with the dojo as well. So I don't think this will be this won't be the last we see of Liger in New Japan. Just the last time we see him in the ring.
Does he pass on the mask?
No, I don't think so. I don't even know if he'd take off the mask for his final one. Obviously, he has wrestled without the mask before as Kishin Liger. Yeah, but I don't think he'll do that. I would be surprised. I don't think it's going to be like the case with Tiger Mask, where we've had like multiple people taking on that character. I think this will be one and done for Liger.
Man, he's the first guy like I ever really sought out in Japanese wrestling, so it's an emotional one to see him hang up the boots.
So he's teaming up with Fujinami. He's 66 years old, as we mentioned. Debuted in 1971. He's a 6-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion. He was also the first person to hold the belt simultaneously with the NWA World Heavyweight Championship when he defeated Ric Flair for the title. He's also a former WWF International Heavyweight Champion and a WWE Hall of Famer from the class of 2015. I think it's just the idea of just putting someone who was basically the top of New Japan at the time when Liger was just about coming up. I think that's probably the reason why they decided to put these guys together. The Great Sasuke is a former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion and was also a Junior Tag Team Champion with Liger. He still wrestles for Michinoku Pro Wrestling.
That's
at the age
amazing.
of 50. Yeah, pretty regular. Tiger Mask, obviously, is one of the most long-term holder of the Tiger Mask because there've been multiple people in it. But he's teamed with Liger. He's a former tag team champion with Liger as well. So, and he's probably the guy who's teamed up with Liger the most prominently over the last 10 years or so.
Who's under the mask? Yeah.
I don't think it's would be that hard to find, but I haven't.
Because Rocky did it for a while. Rocky Romero.
But there have been multiple different Tiger Masks as well, because there's been like White Tiger, stuff like that, Black Tiger. So I don't know whether it was the exact same person.
Right.
So the current Tiger Mask is Tiger Mask 4, who is Yoshihiro Yamazaki.
I think Rocky was 3, because I know obviously the one everybody thinks about it wouldn't think Tiger Mask is the guy who was in the ring with Dynamite, and that was Tiger Mask 2.
That's Mitsuharu Misawa, obviously. Misawa was well known for his time in Noah and All Japan Pro Wrestling.
And I think this is going to be a really cool match. I do have a gripe with the fact that his match tomorrow night, or not, on the 5th, will be a tag match as well. I would have liked to have seen him go out in a banger of a singles match.
Well, yeah, I think we all would have liked to see that as well. I guess it just didn't fall in the cards. And if he's going to wrestle the people that he will be wrestling on second night, which is obviously Hiromu and Ryu Lee, maybe he just couldn't keep up with them in a singles match. You may have worried that he might just drag the match down if it wasn't a tag match.
Yeah, which is, I guess that's good. That's self-awareness he has.
Right, so his opponents for this match, Naoki Sano, is basically a long-time rival of Liger's as opponent. Again, another former IWGP Junior Champion, 54 years old. So he's actually a year younger than Liger. They won the 1990 Match of the Year from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, match between those two. So, wow. And he wrestled for Noah until 2012. Iwatani is the current, he's both a wrestler and the acting president for 01, which is another smaller Japanese promotion. He debuted in 92, he's 47. Again, another former junior heavyweight champion. Another one that's had a lengthy feud with Liger in New Japan, because basically Liger's faced everyone in the New Japan junior heavyweight division. Takaiwa is basically in the same boat. He's been another junior heavyweight champion. He actually defeated Liger for his title reign. He's also working with 01. He's also a long-time tag team partner of Iwatani, so they'll probably be working together quite a lot in this. And Taguchi is probably, I guess, is now the standard bearer for the junior heavyweight division. Like the veteran name. Obviously, you have people like Ospreay and Hiromu who are kind of the flagship people now, like the real top heavyweight, junior heavyweights. But Taguchi's been like I guess just the gatekeeper almost for the entire division for a good number of years now. Like he's the veteran. He's the youngest guy in this match though, 40 years old. Like he's 40 years old. He's the youngest guy in this match, and he'll probably be doing a lot of the heavy lifting as well for his team.
This is so cool to see, and I'm sure it'll be like a great little showcase match.
So,
but
yeah, it's not going to be
obviously Liger wins. I mean,
I predict that Liger would win. If anyone's interested about the people in the corner, El Samurai is another former junior heavyweight champion and also a former junior tag team champion with Liger.
One of the best.
Kobayashi is was Liger's first ever opponent under the gimmick of Jushin Thunder Liger.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's another former junior heavyweight champion. He's 63 at the moment, so he's kind of like I wouldn't say a veteran. He was a veteran at the time that Liger was coming up.
Are we gonna see a cartwheel over the rope moonsault from Sasuke? That's what I want.
If he can somehow pull it off, then I wouldn't. I would probably tell him no because he's 50 years old, so maybe.
I want to know how hard these dudes are gonna go. Like this should be a really fun match to watch.
Yeah. And the referee Hanaga is a former 3-time junior heavyweight champion. He actually, the interesting thing is that he retired in '98 in matches that both involved Jushin Thunder Liger. His penultimate match was against Liger. So
wow.
So basically, he's going to be there to oversee Liger retiring after Liger helped oversee him retiring.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really this has been a really, even though it's a tag team match, many people would want to hope that at least one of Liger's matches would have been a singles match. They've clearly put a lot of thought of effort into putting this match together. So I appreciate that, and I'm hoping that Liger's team wins this one. But kind of knowing Liger, it wouldn't be surprised if he just allows himself to get pinned by Taguchi.
Nah, he can win this one and then go out on his back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Also, from the news desk of Fightful, Liger will be keeping his mask following retirement.
That's probably for the best, really.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could I don't say no one could live up to that thing because there's a lot of great young wrestlers out there, but trying to hold on to that mantle of responsibility is probably too much to put on somebody, especially if they aren't already prominent at the moment. So that's
I think we're covering night 2 as well in this one, right?
Yeah, we'll be covering night 2, but I'm want to get night 1 out of the way first.
Okay.
But because that's kind of like that's one of the biggest matches. Then we have kind of a sea of mediocrity. I say mediocrity. They're going to be great matches because they only really do great matches in Wrestle Kingdom, but they're kind of nothing matches in terms of what they represent. So
yeah.
It's another 8-man tag, Los Ingobernables de Japón, which is Evil, Sanada, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi, facing the Suzuki-gun team of Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and El Desperado. So I guess the interesting things coming out of this match is the fact that it's Sanada against Zack Sabre Jr., who'll be wrestling on night 2 for the British Heavyweight Championship. Other than that, it's just putting these two teams together because they've been feuding quite a lot throughout the year. Again, it not really matters. Doesn't really matter too much who wins this one, but I'm going to go with Suzuki-gun because I think there's bigger things coming for Los Ingobernables not on night 2.
I'll go with LIJ, and I'll say Sonata pins Sabre Jr. with a quick roll-up or something just to get the juices flowing for the 5th.
Oh yeah, that's good prediction. It might even just try and spice mine up by going with a prediction that I think Zack Sabre Jr. makes Bushi tap out for my one.
Either way, like these are great wrestlers. I know sometimes you see 8-man tags and you're like, all right, it's non-consequential, but they're phenomenal talent.
Oh yeah, they're fun matches, and it's a way of getting some people that really deserve to be on the card in more prominent matches. Because Shingo Takagi, for what he's done this year, deserves to be in a more prominent match. But
you can't go wrong with Suzuki.
No, yeah, I think a match between Takagi and Suzuki would be great at some point. Um,
That would be really good.
Then we have another 8-man tag, which is a chaos team of Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, and Yoshi-Hashi, taking on the Bullet Club team of Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, Kenta, and Yujiro Takahashi. Obviously, the main thing to look out for in this one is Peter will be appearing at ringside. So,
Yes.
so
Yeah. I think she won the Hiroshi Tanahashi special
award and
award in the body competition. So
yeah,
good on the ace. But obviously, we're looking at Kenta is going to go up against Goto in night 2,
mm-hmm.
and I'll go ahead and say I think Bullet Club wins because they seem to like that. How are you feeling about Kenta in New Japan? We've had about 6 months to digest. What are you feeling?
I'm feeling better about it than a lot of New Japan fans seem to be feeling about it, because basically, I don't know I think we talked about it when we did the G1 review, about how people were in the YouTube comments from the Japanese audiences were just leaving such scathing reviews about how Kenta sucks and all that other stuff. But I feel like since joining Bullet Club, he's got an edge to his character now. He's become a lot more vicious. So I'm excited to see what he does going forward, and I think his match with Goto could be pretty good. It probably won't be it won't be match of either nights or anything like that, but it'll be solid and it'll be pretty hard hitting.
Do you think Japanese fans are over Bullet Club?
I don't know just yet, because it has changed a lot, so I don't know whether it really is worthwhile to say that they're over it yet. I think in the next couple of years we need to see a transition in terms of the factions,
like some new blood, like some new factions in there, changing it up a little bit. I agree.
I think with Jay White at the helm, they at least have someone who just wants to go out there and be booed, which is good for them, because I was worried that, well, for a while Bullet Club was kind of bordering on the tweener territory by having the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and stuff and people like that. Whereas now they're fully established. They're like, okay, this is the heel group.
Yeah, and Switchblade Jay White, you can argue that he's a discount Kenny Omega, but has anybody had a better 2 years in wrestling than this guy? He gets to switch. That's arguable. Okay, yeah. I'll give you that. But he gets the Switchblade gimmick. He challenges Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 12 for the IC belt. It's kind of like it's a different style. It's very much a letdown. And then suddenly he beats Omega. And I don't know if it's just like osmosis or the mind, but this dude just started banging on all cylinders, and he gets to Wrestle Kingdom 13 last year, and he beats Okada in 14 minutes. And then he wins the IWGP belt. And the one thing I like about him and the Bullet Club now is their mic work and their viciousness is something unparalleled in the promotion.
Yeah, they're definitely. I think they could be in for a bit of a rejuvenation, hopefully going forward. In terms of this match for the 8-man tag, I'm going to go with Chaos winning. Just because I feel like I don't know, maybe it would just be nice to give Ishii a win, or Yano roll someone up.
Well, I went with the baby faces of LIJ in the last one, so I'll go with the heel group of Bullet Club in this one, and I think Kenta will get the pin. I think he'll hit somebody with the GTS, maybe even a penalty kick, looking at Katsuyori Shibata, and I think Kenta gets the win.
So next match is, I guess it's the first title match on the main card, which is Gorillas of Destiny, Tonga and Tonga Loa defending the heavyweight tag team championships against Finn Juice, which is Juice Robinson and David Finlay. So Robinson and Finlay won the World Tag League after defeating Evil and Sonata in the finals. So that's how they earn their opportunity here.
Yeah, we got a new tag team in the Wrestle Kingdom picture.
Yeah, it is good to see.
This division needs a transfusion of talent and just a fresh take.
I don't know if it needs I don't know if it needs new talent, if it just needs to be treated prominently. It always just feels. I mean, Gorillas of Destiny have been the tag team champions since February the 23rd of 2019. So they've been champions well over 300 days. They've defended the title 7 times in those 300 days. They also became Ring of Honor tag team champions for a short while during that time as well.
Yep.
But yeah, it just doesn't feel like the titles really mean anything that much at the moment.
Well, they've only defended the title 7 times in 300 days. Can we Brock Lesnar rule them and just like, hey?
I wait until I talk about the Nebula Openweight 6-man tag team titles, because we've got a little, at least I mean, these guys feel like seasoned like take all challenges type people compared to that title. But
I'm going with Finjuice. Juice. Well, no, because tomorrow night.
The interesting thing is, obviously, we'll talk more about night 2 when we get onto it. But the interesting thing is that Juice Robinson will be fighting for the United States Championship on night 2. That's why I'm personally going with Gorillas of Destiny winning this one, because I just don't feel. I feel like Juice Robinson and David Finlay could be good tag team champions. I just feel like there might be something else they have planned for Juice Robinson on night 2, and him carrying 2 belts would be. It's something that you won't see very much in New Japan. I mean, obviously, we're going to see it by the end of night 2 anyway, because someone will be walking away with 2 belts. I just don't see Robinson also doing the same. I mean, it could mean he only wins this one, but
I will take back what I said, because I think with night 2, as far as the U.S. title, we'll get into that in a minute, but I think they're rectifying certain things. So,
it is clear they need need either new tag teams, or they need a bit more emphasis on the division than they previously have been giving it.
Yeah, I would argue that they need a lot of new tag teams, because this division just doesn't seem important.
So move on from that to the first United States Championship match of the weekend, which will be Lance Archer defending the title against Jon Moxley. So
what kind of match is it, Cal?
It is a Texas Death Match, which in New Japan's meaning of the term of that match means that the match can only end after a submission, a knockout, or a 10 count, in the same way a last man standing match would be.
So it's almost like a bit of an MMA rules kind of deal. And
it's going to be so many weapons all over the place.
There's going to be so much shit going on. Yeah, I believe it was you who said to me that Moxley just left WWE to do death matches.
Yeah.
Because, this guy is having a lot of fun with violence. This is going to kick some fucking ass. Lance Archer is on a roll. Easily the best role of his career. Jon Moxley is completely reborn and revitalized. This might be the sleeper hit of the night.
So obviously the story coming into this match is that Moxley was forced to relinquish the United States Championship after he couldn't travel to King of Pro Wrestling due to, I believe there was tornadoes in Japan or a storm in Japan, which was restricting air travel.
A hurricane, I believe. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was a hurricane.
Yeah. And so Archer was drafted in as a last-minute replacement to battle Juice Robinson for the vacant championship, and Archer won, and he's held the title ever since. He's only defended it once, I believe, against David Finlay. But this will be his second title defense. Interesting caveat is that Jon Moxley will be at AEW show in Jacksonville on January the 1st. And obviously that is the big caveat, is that Moxley is one of AEW's top stars. And as of time recording, there is no working relationship between New Japan and AEW.
We'll get into that when we talk about night 2. Because they seem to be building something.
I still, or as far as any reports that I've read, it suggests that there's still a kind of a frosty relationship between the two sides. I mean,
for sure, but New Japan is saying AEW. And the Jericho Tanahashi match on night 2 has some interesting stipulations now.
Oh yeah, obviously. But yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that more in night 2. But I don't know. Obviously, there's Moxley has been allowed to work for New Japan. Jericho's been allowed to work for New Japan. I know there are rumors circulating, although we haven't seen it come to fruition, that Kenny Omega can still work with New Japan.
He confirmed that the writing was in his contract, even though they never chose to use him.
Yeah, because I assume there's still probably a bit of bitterness and resentment there.
Oh yeah.
towards him and the Young Bucks and Cody and people like that.
Also, apparently the Bucks said that they also had the writing in their contract, but again, New Japan never chose to go that route.
Maybe they would see that as like a little bit too much of a step, because those guys are not only like wrestlers for AEW but also vice presidents of the company. So almost like working with them is almost like a signal that New Japan is working with AEW as opposed to just bringing on two people who like are prominent stars who wanted to work for New Japan as well. But this match will be violent. There'll be a lot of we've seen quite a few no DQ matches in New Japan over the last couple of years with like Omega versus Jericho a couple of years back. But I assume this will go to another level because Moxley does tend to do that.
You're gonna hear the word fuck a lot.
Do I?
You know, you're gonna hear the word fuck a
Oh,
lot.
I thought you were talking about me for a second. I thought I was trying to hold it in a little bit more.
You're gonna like this match that you're gonna hear a lot of John Moxley just letting a lot of four-letter words fly, and this really feels, and some purists, if they're listening, might get offended. This is about as close as you'll get in the modern era to like a Bruiser Brody versus Stan Hansen kind of affair.
So, who you got winning this one?
John Moxley.
Yeah, I have Moxley winning this as well.
It makes all the sense in the world. They're gonna, first of all, that's big headlines. The AEW guy, even if it's just for a night, won the New Japan belt again, and I think there's a story to be told with Moxley and Juice that never got to finish.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. Okay, then we have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, Will Ospreay defending against Hiromu Takahashi. This is Hiromu's first singles match back since he broke his neck in July 2018 at the G1 Special in San Francisco. He's obviously wrestled a couple of tag matches. Oh, I don't think I could probably put into words how, I guess, like, fascinated I am by this match more than anything else, because what I've seen their tag team stuff together, and Hiromu looks great, but that's in a tag team capacity. I'm wondering how much of Hiromu is still there. If most of it, or like hopefully all of it is still there, this could be the match of at least the night one, probably maybe of the entire weekend.
Ospreay, I'm not gonna overhype it, because last year I thought he and Bushi were gonna kill themselves and it was gonna be amazing, and it was a bit tame, but I think both of these men want to prove something, and Hiromu, just what a comeback, what a fun segment of him just throwing himself around the building. I think it's gotta be all there. They strike me as it's either all there or none of it's there. So I'm guessing they go balls to the wall. But this is gonna be a strong contender for match of the weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Ospreay had the year of his life in 2019. Arguably was the best wrestling in terms of like just quality of matches being delivered. Probably the best year of anybody in 2019, and arguably like one of the best years of anybody's ever had in a wrestling ring. In terms of just like constantly just quality match after quality match. He won the Best of the Super Juniors. He won the title with Dominion from Dragon Lee. He's held it ever since. He competed in the G1. He competed in the New Japan Cup. Won the Never Openweight title in 2019 as well. So I kind of feel like this is the year. 2020 will be the year that we see Ospreay move towards a more permanent position in the heavyweight division.
He did say in a recent interview with New Japan, I thought this was interesting because he was the guy trying to bridge the gap that New Japan needs, a better divisions between the heavyweight and the junior heavyweight. So I'm thinking this is the year no more junior. I think he loses it here and he's moving on up.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty clear that they should have Hiromu. If he's there and he's ready to go, then Hiromu needs to win this match. It's the perfect story. It's a great return. This match will be awesome by basically anybody's standards, I imagine. The one thing I'm thinking that they're going to do in this match, and obviously I would never try and like claim to know spots or psychology or anything like that, but they should do a tease of the move that broke Hiromu's neck in this match.
I feel like if he was wrestling, it was Dragon Lee, right?
Yeah.
If he was wrestling Dragon Lee, that they might, but I don't think. I think the big thing here is going to be that elbow Osprey hits.
Oh yeah, the Assassin's Blade thing.
They're going to act like that just re-broke his neck with the way that Osprey hits that thing. That is one of the coolest signature moves in wrestling.
Yeah, well, kind of Osprey's biggest moves all target the neck, which is like that the Assassin's Blade strike, the Oscutter, the Stormbreaker. They're all neck related moves. So I assume there'll be a lot of teasing of targeting that neck. But Will Ospreay's been beaten up for most of 2019 as well, so it'll be interesting to see how much they have. They'll go all out on this, so I'm expecting it to be great.
It's going to be fantastic.
We move on from that for the one of the most interesting matches of the night. The semi-main event and the main event, because they're all very intertwined. So kind of have to talk about them almost simultaneously, which is JY defending the Intercontinental title against Tetsuya Naito, and then Kazuchika Okada defending the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi. So obviously the interesting stipulation about this is that the winners of these matches will face each other on night 2 to battle for both belts.
Okay. How do you feel about just the premise of the double go dash?
Excellent. It's a way to separate this from any other Wrestle Kingdom show there's ever been.
I think it's the perfect gimmick to start up this Unite thing. It does worry me going forward into the future. How will they establish, strong night 1 and night 2 events? But this is a good way to start that. How do you feel about the 4 men involved?
Probably the 4 best men they could choose in terms of like the leaders of their own separate. Well, Ibushi's not really a leader of his group because Tanahashi kind of is, but Ibushi will be the next up and comer for it. And Jay White's head of Bullet Club, Tetsuya Naito's the head of LIJ, Okada's the head of Chaos. It's probably the right 4 people to do it. The only difference would obviously be if Omega was still around.
Yeah, this Jay White is clearly in the Kenny Omega role. Is this a foregone conclusion that this is built for Tetsuya Naito?
There is a very strong argument that would be the case. I mean, there's a huge amount of like storylines for it because all 4 of them have been talking about the fact they want to be the first person to be IWGP and Intercontinental Champion. Now, they've been talking about that pretty much throughout 2019. Jay White defeated Naito for the IC title in the Destruction in Kobe back in September. He's also the guy that lost the finals of the G1 to Kota Ibushi. So they've all been really interlinked with each other.
He lost these are the 4 guys who headlined the Garden.
Yep. Ibushi and Naito have fought each other multiple times over the Intercontinental Championship.
Their necks are still holding up.
Yeah. Ibushi, White essentially. White's been very, very prominent. He started the year as he didn't start the year, but towards the beginning of the year he was the heavyweight champion. Okada's been heavyweight champion since the Supercard, the G1 Supercard in April. He's defended it a few times. He defended it twice against Sonada, against Chris Jericho, against Suzuki. This is Okada's 6th time main event in Wrestle Kingdom, and he's only competed in 9 of them.
That's
awesome. He is the Roman Reigns of New Japan. If Roman Reigns was like universally popular. Ibushi is the winner of the G1 Climax. He defeated Jay White. He defeated Okada on the way to getting there. He's held both the Never Openweight and Intercontinental Championships during 2019. So these guys have all been featured prominently. It's kind of all been building towards it. It's almost like you didn't realize it, but this is what the entire year has been building towards. These 2 matches and this final match on night 2.
I am. Part of me says, first of all, let me say this. I think Okada Ibushi is match of the night. Part of me really says, okay, this is clearly for Naito, even though I personally feel like he has really been why is he here? You know, it's almost like I want to call him the Charlotte Flair, how I said Charlotte really brought nothing to the WrestleMania match until they just, gave her the SmackDown title. That's how I feel about Naito here. It's like, I get that you want to be the first person to do this, but you didn't make it to the finals of the G1. You didn't, you lost to Jay White. You're really just here, ironically, because of the arc of his career, but you're here on a vote of popularity almost. And I think that even though Tetsuya Naito seems like the likely candidate, you can't sleep on the switchblade when this dude has done everything in the last couple years. So that one in particular is more interesting to me than the world title match because I kind of think Ibushi has to win that one. Well, regardless of who he'll face, and I think if I was giving you my full-on predictions, I think it's Ibushi and Naito in night 2, but I think Ibushi has to win the belt.
See, I've come to believe a lot of times in my time watching New Japan of you can't ever go against Okada dropping the title because there's always been situations where we thought, okay, this is the guy to beat Okada, and it's never the guy to beat Okada because there's a very very select group that his booking as world champion is the greatest booking of a world champion that potentially there's ever been. Because there's only a finite number of people that can even touch Okada in terms of like winning the title, and yet they still make it seem like everyone can beat Okada, or not everyone can beat Okada, but everyone has a chance of winning the title from him. But I personally believe that guns to my head, because it's definitely not a foregone conclusion by any stretch of imagination. I have no idea what's going on in Gado's minds sometimes, but it always usually ends up being the right thing. I would say that Naito is winning the Intercontinental Championship and Okada is retaining.
So you think it's Okada Naito rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 12?
I do believe that, and one reason why I believe that more than anything else is that Okada and Naito have never faced each other one-on-one since that match. So they have not fought. They have not fought each other since January the 4th, 2018.
They haven't had reason to. They've been, again, ironically considering the situation we're in now, they've been so separated by their respective championships that they've never needed to
and
go
they've never been in the same G1 block. They've never faced each other in a tournament like the New Japan Cup or anything like that. I believe it's been a long-term plan to keep these guys separated until this night.
I'm just not crazy about the idea of here we have Kota and Jay White in a nothing match during night 2. If you put Okada and Jay White, you're like, okay, these two guys have traded wins for the title. They have that built-in story of betrayal. You can do more with them without the championships than I think you can with Ibushi and Jay White. And Ibushi and Naito, even though we've seen it a lot in the last 12 months, is always a wonderful car wreck championship match.
Oh yeah, I don't see any problem with any sort of combination of them. I just don't feel like they will do Naito against Ibushi again after so many times winning a team. And there must be some reason. They must be holding off for something big to have Okada and Naito face each other again. They wouldn't have waited this long if they didn't have a plan of putting them back together in a big match. So I'm sticking with my prediction. You're obviously more than welcome to yours because, frankly, any one of these combinations could probably happen.
This is a toss-up. Yeah, this is a complete. Any one of these, either way, all four men are fighting each other. Because whatever, the losers will fight night 2, the winners will fight night 2. I'm just very curious to see how this shakes out.
So now we move over on to night 2, which will be kicking off with essentially like the big free-for-all thing. They're not doing the New Japan Rumble as far as we're aware.
Which is fine, even though that's always a highlight.
Yeah, it's
It's
always
so
pretty
much fun.
fun. It would have been nice to bring it back, but instead they're going to be doing kind of the new tradition, really, which is the never open weight 6-man tag team title gauntlet match.
Why is this a thing?
Because they don't really care about those titles, but it gives them an opportunity to put a lot of people on the card in a big match, or a biggish match, but like just get them all in together, have a fun outing with each other. They don't really have to try that hard. So the champions at the moment are the most violent players, which is Togi Makabe and Toru Yano, and Ryusuke Taguchi. So they've been champions since January the 30th, 2019. So they've almost been champions for a year.
I really think, I know this is Tony's thing about merging, but I think you can merge some of these never championships, and just these in particular aren't as prominent. That I don't feel like there's a lot of good 6-man factions anymore, and they don't need to be a thing. My guess is the champions retain unless they want to give another belt to Bullet Club or something.
Well, I just feel like I think it's inoffensive. Like, these titles don't really mean a great deal, but I don't find them particularly offensive that they're there.
Yeah, but I don't like the 24/7 title's a thing, and I don't necessarily think that it needs to be a thing anymore. You know?
No, that's true, but at least we'll get to see these people all competing. So it's going to be they're defending in a gauntlet match against a Chaos team of Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshi-Hashi, and Robbie Eagles, a Bullet Club team of Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, and Yujiro Takahashi, an LIJ team of Evil, Shingo Takagi, and Bushi, and a Suzuki-Gun team of Taichi, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. I think the LIJ is winning this.
Okay, so I can see where your mindset is for the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Bullet Club.
Oh yeah, but again, this is kind of a toss-up. The titles, the titles don't mean a huge amount, but I think that they've got some things planned for Elijah. Move on to Liger's final match. Jushin Thunder Liger teaming with Naoki Sano, so teaming with arguably his biggest rival in the past, with Yoshiaki Fujiwara, who is credited as one of Liger's original trainers in New Japan. Teaming up against Ryu Lee, who's obviously formerly known as Dragon Lee. Ryu means dragon in Japanese. And Hiromu Takahashi.
That is the most interesting thing to me about this match.
It's the guy Ryu Lee and Hiromu teaming.
Yeah, the guy who broke his neck and Hiromu Takahashi teaming in this match. I completely think this is a showcase for the person who will now be the IWGP Junior Championship. I think Hiromu pins Jushin Thunder Liger, and that is how Liger's career will fade.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost certain that Liger will be the one who takes the pinfall in this one, because that seems like the fitting way of doing it. I think it'll be Lee who pins him, because they're starting him on a new gimmick, essentially, in New Japan. Interesting, Dragon Lee is the current Ring of Honor TV champion as well.
It does bother me that they have such a strong working relationship and he's Dragon Lee. I know you said it means the same thing, but still, it's like that can cause a bit of confusion to casual fans, I think.
I think what will happen here is that Lee will pin Liger and then immediately challenge Hiromu for the title.
I can see that. And that'll be a good, if not New Year's Dash, which would be immediately, I can see that being a good Dominion match.
I think it'll come before Dominion. I think it'll come at the February show they have. But it's got to happen at some point. They've got to face each other. So I think they won't hold off on it too long, I don't think. Then we have the junior heavyweight tag team titles, which will be the Bullet Club team of Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo, defending against Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo.
Talk about divisions that, again, need to be either firmly established or just go away. The junior tag team scene is just Roppongi 3K and insert team.
Yeah. I kind of feel like this would be the opportunity to kind of merge those belts with the main tag team championships and just say, okay, we've got some smaller teams, we've got some bigger teams. Because let's face it, Sho is going to be a heavyweight at some point in his career at the very least. And Taiji Shimori is pretty small, but he could probably do something with. I mean, he's a pretty permanent fixture in the junior heavyweight division anyway. Yo could be a pretty permanent fixture there for a while. El Phantasmo's has been one of the best introductions to New Japan in the last year. Like, he's a very interesting character. But this match would be good, but it does, again, the titles aren't the most heavily protected or the most heavily sought after, so it can only really reach so high.
I think unless you have plans of breaking them up, it's Shonyo again.
Yep, I think Shonyo, Roppongi 3K, will win titles in this one as well. Next we have the British Heavyweight Championship from Rev Pro being defended, which is Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Sanada. So
good potential here. Just these two are so good in the ring, and I know you feel exactly the same way.
Oh yes, Zack Sabre Jr. is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Sanada, when he's on form, is a great wrestler as well. Sanada's coming off the back of winning the best bout of the year for New Japan in terms of their voting when his match with Okada from King of Pro Wrestling. So Sanada defeated Zack Sabre Jr. in the G1 Climax. That's the last time they faced each other in singles matches. Zack Sabre Jr. has been the champion since defeating Tanahashi for the title back in September. So I think, like, gun to my head, I'm going with Sanada for this one.
I'm going with Sabre Jr., but I think there's an Intercontinental Championship in the very near future for Sanada.
Sanada has to be... He's really on the cusp at the moment, but you can only be on the cusp for so long before you pull the trigger.
Right.
So he needs to be in a more prominent position by the end of the year. But there's a lot of people that are kind of in that bracket, really, for New Japan. Like, Sanada's there, Ospreay's there. There's the argument that
I would argue
Jr.'s there as well.
Yeah, Evil's there.
Yeah.
Shingo Takagi should arguably be there.
Yeah, Tomohiro Ishii is always someone who they could push at the drop of the hat. You kind of have to say that Kenta might move up beyond the never open weight stuff at some point. And Juice Robinson has always been knocking on the door as well. And also, we have to remember that Moxley and Jericho could still be around for a while to come, and Tanahashi's not going anywhere just yet.
Loaded potential in the New Japan roster.
Yeah.
I think, even though I know you're going for a beautiful, like, LIJ wins everything at the end of the night, I think Sanada loses this, but it effectively catches the wedding bouquet that is the Intercontinental Championship when Naito throws it up in the air after winning the world title.
That's a potential prediction as well. So now we have, we've both said that Moxley will win the US title from night one, so we both believe that Moxley will be defending the title against Juice Robinson on night two.
Yes, and then I think Juice Robinson wins because he never got to beat Moxley, and that was such a prominent point of his 2019.
Yeah, I'm in agreement as well. I think whichever person does get it, I think they'll tell the story like he's carrying a pretty broken and battered body after the Texas Death Match into this match with Robinson, and Robinson capitalizes on that to get the win.
However, if by some chance Jon Moxley wins, then that will lead to some interesting stories and headlines.
So we have Kenta defending the Never Openweight Championship against Hiroki Goto. So a lot of people are a little bit, I'd say, put out by this match because for the longest time they were teasing the idea that Shibata would be returning to the ring and that this match would have been Kenta against Shibata instead.
Never say never, but just not right now.
Yeah, I know. We're not saying that Shibata is permanently retired. Like, they've given us every reason to believe that he might be, but he's also taken a lot of bumps recently, especially at the feet of Kenta. So I think that was.
Listen, you still need a big pop for New Year's Dash. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I've always felt like there's always been that Vince McMahon mantra that you never promote a match that you have no intention of putting on. So I feel like there might be in the future Kenta versus Shibata, but I feel like they teased it too much for this show because this Wrestle Kingdom so show that Hiroki Goto feels like a bit of a damp squib.
Yeah, I agree.
And Hiroki Goto, he's a great wrestler. I thought his match with Jay White at during the G1 Climax was one of my favorite matches of the year. And he just doesn't, but he's never really elevated beyond that. Well, we spoke about like all those people that we said like is really like knocking on the door of the main event. None of us ever really mentioned Goto.
Well, he's perpetually knocking at the door of the main event.
Yeah, that's kind of been his gimmick for his entire career, is the fact that he's a guy who just can never break through the glass ceiling. And I don't see him breaking through here and winning the championship because I see Kenta retaining.
Yep, me too.
And again, I think we're probably both thinking that they might lead to something with Shibata down the road for the title when Shibata is actually cleared.
Listen, there's still New Year's Dash on day 3, and we can't. We'll obviously talk more about that when we're reviewing night 2 on Saturday morning. No, Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I think there's always a chance of Katsuyori Shibata, but it just wasn't meant to happen here. And this will be more of a showcase for Kenta. Should still be a very good match, but it's definitely not a focal point of Wrestle Kingdom 14.
So now we have the losers match between the loser of the the loser of the heavyweight title match and the loser of the Intercontinental title match. They'll be facing each other. There's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no stipulations attached to this just yet.
I would say that there should be, but that's precisely why I just don't want it to be, Ibushi and Jay White, because then it's really just, here's a rematch from the G1 final. Unless they're going to start to tell a story with, like Ibushi, like if Ibushi just loses his mind after losing the Okada match, if that's the route they go. But this is such a toss-up that, like, you can't fully predict much. But I'll say that, just to reiterate, my prediction will be that this match is Okada and Jay White, and Jay White will win here, and maybe we get more balloons from Okada this year.
Well, I'm going for this match being Ibushi versus Jay White, and I'm having Jay White winning as well, because I think that there is a story to be told in the idea of Ibushi losing that and then just carrying over, like, being so crestfallen after losing his big opportunity that he loses to Jay White and he goes on a bit of a downward spiral for a few months.
So we're going to talk AEW in about 2 seconds. But I'll ask it here, with Moxley going over, with Jericho going over, do we see Kenny? Do you think that relationship is just so frozen over right now? Or can we see something like, hey, look, guys, it's Kenny Omega, and he's here to comfort Ibushi, and Ibushi wants something to do with him. It's almost like a reverse of the initial story.
I don't know. I mean, that would obviously be a great moment, whether they do it on this, if they were to do it on night 2 or New Year's Dash or whenever. Again, there's just no real clarification about how difficult the relationship is between AEW and New Japan right now. I mean,
well,
I personally am of the belief that they really should all let their egos pass by, and because there's a huge amount of money to be made. And that's always been the difficulty with a lot of promotions. They don't look beyond their own egos or issues or stuff like that and realise that, okay, we create something, not just money, but we could create something really great here between an alliance between AEW and New Japan, like for both companies. And I mean, realistically,
if they team up, they have to know that, like, this is the best. And I know nobody's, like, directly after taking down WWE, but that is the best chance that you have if you combine the talents of New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling. Does it leave Ring of Honor out in the cold? Potentially. But I think right now, with the way the world is forming, AEW and NJPW teaming up makes all the sense in the world.
I'd ask you this, though. Which one of them needs it more? Who needs the relationship more? Does AEW need the relationship more, or does New Japan need the relationship more?
I think New Japan will benefit from the popularity of the elite, but I think that for AEW, this will be like the missing piece of the puzzle. So I'm
So,
going to say AEW needs it more.
well, let's talk about some more things that are more pertinent, like directly related to AEW, with Hiroshi Tanahashi against Chris Jericho.
How the fuck did this come to be? What, like 1 minute? Because listen, Jericho was already an AEW star when he challenged Okada, and then we knew he was champion going into this match with Tana, and then all of a sudden, Tana just says, "Hey, listen, if I win, I want to challenge for his title," and Jericho puts out a video and says, "Yeah," and then New Japan announces it that if Tanahashi wins, he gets an AEW title shot. So is there an AEW title shot in Japan? Or is Tanahashi gonna
Well, you'd
be
imagine that
potentially
if it was an AEW championship match, it would have to take place in an AEW ring.
exactly? So it's like, wow, what door just opened here? And does this mean Jericho wins? I'm kind of leaning towards Jericho has to win, or you're telling us that there's a relationship.
Well, here's the most interesting caveat for me, is that we don't know when Tanahashi's contract expires. See, Tanahashi signed a new contract with New Japan in December 2018, and it was not disclosed the length of it, but it was not disclosed that it was a multi-year deal.
I can't see Tanahashi. I see Okada jumping before I
Could
see
you have seen
Tanahashi.
Shinsuke Nakamura leaving when he left? Many people probably were surprised that he left for WWE, or
That is true.
we don't know, and it'd be wild, like out of this world, if Tanahashi left New Japan to join AEW, because not only would that be seen as like just wow, Tanahashi decided to leave the company that he's been kind of the heart and soul of for nearly 2 decades, but then he's also joined the company who's already on really bad terms with New Japan, basically
There's
killing
your
any
Hogan signing.
yeah yeah
There's your Hulk Hogan.
yeah. Well, I mean that's the guy that would be the move that basically kills any hope of a unless they're but I guess they wouldn't promote it that way unless they wouldn't promote it as an AEW championship opportunity or anything like that if there was any belief that Tanahashi is just going to leave and join AEW.
Right.
I still think Tanahashi's going to win this.
So you think there's a chance that
I think
there
they could
is a
I think
working
they could
relationship
agree to a one-off thing of
where Jer
Tanahashi facing Jericho on a show. No idea what show, but I feel like they could just do a one-off. Oh wow, Hiroshi Tanahashi, see, like WWE brought in Liger that one time for a
does
one-off
that
appearance.
does that have to be a pay-per-view? That has to be a pay-per-view, right?
Well, it would have to be the February pay-per-view, you'd imagine.
Well, see, but I think then you get into like I would think Mox is a shoe-in for that February pay-per-view title shot against
Well,
Jericho.
realistically, is it more valuable to AEW to put that match on a pay-per-view or to put that on TV and try and get a ratings win over NXT?
Oh, if Tanahashi was on TV, they're winning that week. Period. Like
I guess it depends, obviously, on the scope of like how much the wrestling audience really watches New Japan.
once
No,
again, they are in America in the coming weeks. I feel like that is like the New Japan of America shows start this month.
it's a really like interesting like stipulation attached to this, and it could mean that Jericho has to win because he's the title holder and they can't do a match with Tanahashi. Like, so it might have just like revealed it entirely, or it might just be that Tanahashi wins, and this is kind of the first indications of a growing relationship between a thawing of like the frostiness between New Japan and AEW.
If Tanahashi wins, then I 100% think, all right, some phone calls were made, fences were mended. When do we see Kenny Omega return? Because I don't feel like it's
It can't be a
negative to
one-sided thing.
say and I don't feel like it's negative to say, of Kenny, the Bucks, Hangman, and Cody, I think New Japan is really more concerned about Kenny
Oh, yeah.
Like, the Bucks are great. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I definitely think if they could only have one, they want Kenny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Kenny Omega is the linchpin in all of this, of like somebody who's so was so big for New Japan for so long that they need him back, or they feel like they could use him back. But I feel like they'd probably see a lot in some other potential over there as well, and I'm pretty sure AEW sees a lot in a lot of the New Japan talent, because why wouldn't they? But that's that match. I'm going Tanahashi, you're going Jericho.
Jericho has to win. I'm almost certain, which is funny because up until those words were said, this felt like, well, Tanahashi's beating Jericho, and then Jericho's done. He'd said this was everybody that he wanted. But now that this stipulation is added, I'm saying Jericho wins.
So then we have the final match of Night 2 and the final match of Wrestle Kingdom 14, which is the person who is the IWGP Heavyweight Champion facing the IWGP Intercontinental Champion with both championships on the line.
And the only thing that we can come to agreement on is Tetsuya Naito finally wins it.
I think this is the time that Naito walks away with both titles. But you think that he'll be beating Ibushi for it, and I think that he'll be beating Okada for it.
Either way, I see a celebration where honestly, I really do see like the wedding bouquet moment of him just throwing the Intercontinental title in the air, and maybe Sonata and Evil kind of catch it, and you go, oh, there's something there. But this is Naito's big moment, and more importantly, a bigger moment for the audience. I feel like Naito is the perpetual Stone Cold, almost like he's kind of a heel, but everybody loves him. Everybody loves LIJ. They love saying, tranquilo. They love the whole bit. I think he either wins it here or he's not winning it.
No, I mean, Naito has been a world champion before, but it was a very brief reign, and that was kind of when LIJ was just starting up and was starting to build some momentum. He really peaked around about like late 2017, early 2018. He's then fell down a little bit down the rankings, and now he's in a position of prominence again. I think this is probably his last big chance to be at the guy in New Japan for a while. And I feel like beating Okada makes more of a statement than beating a guy who just won the title the night before.
It does. But I don't know. I just feel like whatever story you want to tell with Ibushi being unsuccessful, you can tell it. Maybe you can tell it even greater if he gets it for a second and then loses it immediately.
That's definitely a possibility. My mindset is more on the lines of like, I don't know whether it hurts Ibushi more or less to lose the title shot opportunity or to lose the championship one night after winning it. But either way, I think it can work.
Yeah, but this is. I say this is Naito's night, but I watched Wrestle Kingdom 12, and I saw a place explode for him, and I'm like, well, clearly this guy is ready, and this guy is the winner, and Okada beat him.
Yep.
But if
that almost fuels my belief that it will be Naito's night this time. But let's face it, there is a very, very real opportunity that Okada walks away with both titles because it's Okada.
And let's not. I would argue the same thing as a heel, from a heel perspective, as Jay White, even though I have him losing night one. Again, you cannot sleep on this dude. And then you look at Ibushi, who this is his whole idea to begin with. It makes perfect sense for him to win it because he's never shut up about it since winning the IC title.
If you were to rank the four of them in terms of which you think is most likely to win to which is least likely to win.
So most likely to win, I'd say Naito, then I would say Jay White, then I'd say Ibushi, then I'd say Okada, just because I can't see Okada being Intercontinental Champion. It seems almost like Hulk Hogan beating Warrior. Like, what does he do with this belt now?
Yeah, I guess so. But personally, I go Naito, Okada, White, and Ibushi last. I think the fact that Ibushi is the one that proclaimed this almost sealed his fate as the one that's not going to win it.
I like how we both really think that number 2 potential is Jay White. Jay White can.
Oh, I said Fredericks for White.
Did you say 3 for White?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I think that it's going to be Okada versus Naito, so I'd be pretty silly if I thought that Okada didn't have an opportunity to win it. It's Okada. I have to at least back him as a potential like front runner for this.
It's gonna be a fun one. It's gonna be a real exciting time, and then you have to know that whatever comes out of this is going to set the tone for the entire year.
Yeah, this is going to be these are going to be 2 monumental shows. They've been built up really, really well, and they've got a lot of stakes riding on all of them. So the only thing left to do is to look forward to watching it, which we will be doing on January the 4th and 5th, and obviously doing post shows for both nights.
Yeah.
Obviously it'll be early in the morning for both of us, but it'll be a night for them. It'll be a night in Japan.
It'll be a night in Japan, and it'll be a fun start to our weekend for us, and a fun start to our year. Is there any better way to kick off the year, but with arguably the best wrestling supercard of the year?
Yeah, I think January kind of sets really bad expectations for the rest of the year because
it really does.
Because it's because you have Wrestle Kingdom and then you have the Royal Rumble later on in the month, and then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, wrestling is so exciting for the first 30 days of the year, and then it all goes downhill.
Yeah. So, hope you've enjoyed these predictions. We'll just toss a few plugs your way now. If you want to listen to more New Japan content or any kind of additional content on top of the stuff we already do, then donating to the Patreon is probably the best way to support us. Whether you just donate $1 or a young buck or a Milwaukee buck,
one of those Okada dollars.
Yeah,
anything helps.
Yeah, but obviously there we have our own pick your poison tier as well. So if you donate $50, you can basically we're your little puppets, and we can do whatever you command us to do.
It's very important to say that money does talk, ladies and gentlemen.
And also, if you want to donate it, but also get something else in return other than just more content for your ears, you could go to the TeePublic or Redbubble shops, get some merchandise from Smark Moment. Obviously, go to smarkomoment.com, check out all the articles, the weekly stuff that's out there. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on any other social media platforms. Join the conversation in the Mega Maniacs Facebook group, because I'm sure there'll be a Wrestle Kingdom chat up there as well if you want to talk with us while you're watching along. Anything else you want to shout out there, Rob?
Yeah, I would also say he's not here, but follow Tony everywhere at Tony Mango, because he is the guy who keeps this thing going. Support his content over at Fanboys Anonymous and everything associated with that. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. You can check out everything I'm doing, because I will be on the news for Wrestle Kingdom over at Fightful.com. I'm also over at WrestleZone.com doing news there Wednesday through Friday, and the WrestleZone Daily Monday through Thursday. So just check out everything we each have going on, and we will see you, I guess, Saturday morning.
Yep. So if you want to follow me on Twitter anyway, you can follow me at Wigmaster14. And if you haven't checked it out over the year, then go back and listen to 2001 A Wrestling Odyssey, because that was our pet project for the year as like an addition onto it. So it'd be greatly appreciated if you do check it out, or just re-listen to it if you already have already. It's a great way to cap off the year. Anyway, thanks very much for checking out the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 14 predictions. This has been another Smart Count moment, and we are being counted out.